Elaine, glad you made it. So I'm starting with, I already started working on them with two Skinner blends. One has white, ultramarine, and green, and the other one has white, pale blue, and ultramarine. I might add a little bit more green at the tail here, but we'll see how it comes out. So as you can see, I narrowed them by fan folding, and now I'm going to do the roll that I explained to you hastens the mixing, the gradient in the Skinner blend. And one thing, I apologize again and again because I got a comment from somebody that the sound of my machine is too loud and is bothering. And I am sorry, but I have because of the way I have to have the setup, the microphone is fairly close to the pasta machine and it's an omnidirectional, so it picks up all the sounds around. And if I have to use the pasta machine, I have to use the pasta machine. There is no silencer for it. So I'm going to do this several times, and you kind of want to have it narrow. You don't want to let it widen up too much. The only downside of the rolling technique is the fact that you need to be very careful about catching air bubbles. So what is white will be the outside of the tree, what is darker will be the inside. This is practically based on one of the leaves techniques, and you know I have a whole bunch of leaves tutorials, but also a leaves technique that is based on the barbed cane, and I do also have a tutorial on the barbed cane. Remember, if you go on my channel, there is the search function, and you can search and find a whole bunch of stuff. Because right now I'm nearing, like, I don't know, 1400 videos out there. You know, counting both the live and the uploads. So, and I try to organize them by playlists. So if you look for something, the chances are that you will find it on my channel. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here right now. The white, as usual, is very soft. I have no idea why always the white and the black in the Primo line are super soft, but they are. So and again, I am keeping it narrow, so every time I roll it, I am going to narrow it down, and you can see how much softer the white is than the darker part by how much it plumps out. It is actually the same amount of clay, but because it is much softer, I should have probably softened up the darker colors more. But I promise you, they will look fine no matter what. So you'll probably have to do this maybe like anywhere from 5 to 8 times, depending on how well the clay reacts to the mixing and folding and stuff. Now, if you do not have the pale blue, just you can either make a mix or extend the ultramarine into the white. Yay! Oh crap. Hold on, I got a boo-boo. I dropped my my sheet on the let me see if it's salvageable. I dropped my sheet on the rolls and it got partially caught. I think it should be salvageable. Hey, this is from the pasta machine. I think it's time to clean it. But yeah, it's a more modern look, but by what you see in the stores, it's pretty much in vogue, and I will show you how to do it in two ways. One would be 3D and one would be flat. And of course, you can try it with pearlescence. You can put some glitter, especially in the white part, to look more like snow, glittering snow. This white is so soft, it leaves streaks on my rollers. We are getting there though. I didn't realize there was such a huge difference between the regularly conditioned one and the white. I should do 2 more folds and then we should be good. And there we go. Now I'm going to show you a different method of for the barbed cane, because with the barbed cane you make it in a round plug. This time I'm going to make it in a square plug. I mean, if you watch my barbed cane tutorial, you will see the round plug. use that one if you have problems with keeping the actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make one round and one square. I'm gonna make this one square and this one round because it will be easier, so you don't have to go looking for other stuff. Okay, so instead of rolling now, I'm going to just start folding. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfectly perfect. And now, oh my goodness, my cats are unhappy about something, and I'm not going to interrupt myself to see what. I think Finnegan is bored. That's what I think is going on. He found yesterday an older toy that I had missed when I threw away all the toys. He found yesterday an older toy that he used to play with Connor with, and he's been hollering since. He misses his brother. Okay, so we want the white to be on the outside. So I'm going to start rolling from the dark. So yeah, I apologize for last Sunday, but I said before, I live in a very old house. The area I live in is called the original 1 mile. That they built when the Air Force Base was still a depot. That's why it was called Air Depot, and that's why we still have a boulevard called Air Depot. But the houses here were built between 1942 and 1944. Okay, so here we cut in 4. And you can imagine that the sewer lines, most of them are very old too. So every fall and every spring they flush the sewer lines, and every time they do that, everybody gets stuff backing up. So I had to call a plumber. It was Sunday. Good thing it was a guy I know, and he knows my financial situation, so he didn't charge me an arm and a leg. Nevertheless, I still had to do a lot of cleaning after that. I didn't do a complete cleaning. I continued on Monday, but it wiped me out. And then, of course, Tuesday I had to take my Ozempic shot, of which, that's another story. My doctor wanted to up me to 0.75, but they don't make pens for Okay, I'm gonna leave this here like this, and then take care of the other one, and you'll see the difference in how it looks. They only make pens that are, there's one that has two doses, one of, you can set it for 0.25 or for 0.50. And that would have meant that I needed two of those pens in a month. And the insurance didn't accept it, so she had to put me on a 1.0, so that's double than the dosage I was getting before. So you can imagine that it messed me up again. But okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply stack it. Should have started it a little bit more narrow, but okay, it's okay. So yeah, that's why I wasn't able to have the live last Sunday, and I couldn't catch up on the rest of the week. I'm telling you, I can't wait for this whole thing to get better. Actually, let me check on something. Yeah, I didn't, between my doctor's appointment and today, I didn't manage to tell you all how my appointment went. Apparently, I'm on a very good track. My blood glucose was fine. My A1C was still high, but not so horribly high, because it was 7.1, and that was down from 11.4 in August. So, but I know by what I've been told is that A1C takes longer to go down because it is an average. So I have to monitor. I have to take, number one, I have to take that 1.0 every 10 days, not every week. Yeah, you'll see now why I'm saying that it's a little bit different than doing it in the round way. So I'm getting it into a cube. And doing the same thing. I'm going to cut it in 4. I should have gotten it even shorter so I can do the So what I'm going to do first is to narrow it down. So I can do the pulling of the white. So again, I'm pulling the white on the sides, I'm pulling it up. The main difference will be that the lines of the Skinner blend in the round one will be like this, and in the a square one, cubic one will be like this. And that's why I was going to do it all cube-like. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this together too. And all we do at this point is reduce it so it would lengthen this way. Hi, Colleen. And then another thing that you'll want to do is to establish a color that you want for the wrapping, because you'll have to do just one single wrapping. Okay, so let me get rid of the wastage. And again, I'm going to cut it in two. And place it. Now, I'm going to reduce it a little in length again. And then it will be very important on how you manipulate it next. Okay, so I cut it in two, and one will be squished one way. So I'm squishing it diagonally, right? That's still keeping a flat part here. And the other one will be squished the other way. And as I said, flatten it back up here. So you get kind of like two, you already can see where this is going. Now we are going to put these together again. Pinch it in the top. And now we got a triangle, a fairly acute angle triangle. And if I weren't on a live, I would just let it sit for a little bit because of the squishy white. So let me again get rid of the wastage. And you can reduce it quite a lot. Depends on the size of the thing you're making. If you're making a pendant, if you're making earrings, it all depends on your final product. You can reduce it even tiny. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, okay, cut the wastage. Get me a piece here. And then reduce it further. So I can have a much smaller one. Okay, then we're gonna do the exact same thing with this one. And you'll see the way that the tree looks is different depending on if you do it round or from a cube. Alright, and once again getting rid of the wastage. So it all depends on what is your preference, and you'll be able to see here how it looks like. Okay, they are not even. How it looks like in one way and how it looks like in the other way. So I'm going again to now we just go pretty much lengthening the white part and the opposite part, widening actually, not lengthening. And then we'll do the exact same thing as we did with the other one. The cut in two and then squish diagonally. Just trying to get enough to work with. Okay, so wastage off. And again, cut in half. One goes one way. And the other one goes the other way. And again, don't forget to flatten the bottom. And we put them together. Now, as you can see, the cube one is more defined, looks a little bit more like the needles of a pine tree. So all we do now is to reduce this. And I'm going to get a piece of this and reduce it a lot. And again, you can do it in both ways, so you'll have two different kind of little trees. And you can make different other combinations of whites and blues, and even with a little bit of green at the very center. That will be just fine. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is you can use the wastage to make a light blue, fairly whitish actually. Let's get a little bit more white. You can even mix a little bit of glitter or pearl. It was cold this morning, it was 39 degrees, and then towards the middle of the week we are going to get freezing temperatures. be whiter than this. Much whiter than this. Okay, so we have this very light blue. If you have the pale blue, you can mix like one part of pale blue with 2 parts of white. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is to get some ultramarine. And get some black in it. So that would be about 3 parts ultramarine to 1 part of black. You don't want it to be completely black. You can use completely black, but so you can do this on a base, or you can do it directly and then add a base, a backing. So first thing, we are establishing the landscape. So, and as I said, I'm going to do 2, one in 3D and one in a flattened version. Alrighty, so you want this to be very well against each other. As I said, you can start with a and you want the snow to be at about 1/3. Of course, you can do whatever sizes you want. And then for both the flattened one and the non-flattened one, we are going to cut thin slices. And you can wrap these if you want before cutting, like using a pale blue, using an ultramarine. And this is wastage. This is wastage. And this is good. can make more than 2 kinds. Okay, so if I want to put them arrange them before putting them down, because you're gonna have to cut part of them. So if I put this, okay, this is not very well cut, it's too thick. If I put this near this one, my fingers are getting sticky. If I put this near this one, I'm going to have to cut this part. Actually more. I don't want a whole bunch of them to get all. So let's get the bigger one. Then the next sized one. Okay, it needs to be more angled up. The more types you have, the better it is. Okay, so this is 2. Preferable it is to bake the background first, so that way you don't have to worry about cutting into it. So there we go. And you can leave the, as I said, you can leave the trees in 3D, or you can flatten them out. One thing I would do, honestly, I would put glitter in here. And then the other thing that is advisable to do, if you want to give it more depth than this, and if you want to make this way smaller, you might want to look, I have a tutorial on how to make an aurora borealis. You can make an aurora borealis on the back there, but one thing you can do is grab itty bitty pieces of white to make stars. As you can see, I'm using a needle. And there we go. It will be something like this. And of course, you can resin the whole thing, obviously. You can flatten it by burnishing, and I've shown you many times how to burnish. I'm not going to do it again this time. But as I said, you can make different color combinations, so you have several colors of these little winter trees, or you can use a different technique of all the leaf techniques that I've shown you. The whole trick is to just, when you cut it, push one diagonally in one side and one diagonally in the other side to obtain the triangle. The diagonal push is valid for some of the leaves as well. And I do not recommend to use green. I recommend to use white, always the white on the outside. And if you want to use green, use it only at the very center. And personally, I think that a combination of lighter and darker, of course, I could have gone and made these way smaller. You can make a whole forest here, and you can place even a little house. But as you can see, it makes a very nice winter landscape. And I made it fairly big so you can see how it's done, but imagine that you have little earrings like this, of course, earring size. And with resin all over, and you can put a little bit of the iridescent glitter in the resin itself. And you can also put some tiny rhinestones instead of white here for the night sky, but pretty much this is how it would look like. As you can see, it's not a very difficult cane to make. It can be a little bit difficult to reduce it to very tiny sizes, but you can do it, trust me. If my hands can do it, yours can too. Okay, I hope you liked it, and I don't know, I have no idea how much I'm going to be able to work this week with this new Ozempic, but I'll try to do stuff because it irritates me to no end that I am wasting my life sleeping, and I never liked sleeping. To me, sleeping is the small death. So I know I don't want to sound macabre, but for me, sleeping is not living. So I don't know if I make any sense. Anyway, thank you so much, and I will be doing my best to try and do stuff, because that's my main problem, especially now that I got some pearl clay that Judith was so kind to get me. I should be able to. I'm having stuff I'm working on all the time. That's why my table is a mess. But yeah, I hope you like it, and I hope you try it, and have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next Sunday. Thank you so much. I love you all. Bye.